Good evening, baseball fans. How you doing? We got a big show tonight. We got a lot to talk about. Max Scherzer suspended for 10 games. We're going to break it down. Shohei Ohtani is in the news. The trade rumors have already begun for Mr. Shohei Ohtani. We're going to dive into it. Madison Bumgarner DFA'd by the Arizona Diamondbacks. I'm going to break it down. Fernando Tatis Jr. is back. Liam Hendriks has some great news. The Oakland A's are moving on from Oakland, and it looks like they're going to Las Vegas. We're going to talk all about it. Let's get to it. Baseball fans, how you doing? Hello. We got a lot of familiar faces in the chat like we always do. How's everyone doing? Doing all right today? How you doing? It's a Thursday evening. The weekend is on the horizon. I'm going to be honest with you. I was kind of hoping, waking up today, I was hoping for a big news day. And I was thinking, I'm like, all right, I'm going to go over the scores tonight. I'm going to dive in. But, hoping for at least like a story or two. And man, we got some stories. We got some stories to talk about tonight. Not just going over, actually there's not a whole lot of baseball going on today. We had a few day games today. We got a couple of games going on right now. We'll dive into those. But you all know me. I like talking about the news more than anything. And we got some juicy ones to dig our teeth into. But everyone, thank you for stopping by tonight. I am seeing some members. I am seeing some moderators. I am seeing a lot of familiar faces. I always appreciate when you all stop by. But like I said, we got a lot to talk about. We're talking Max Scherzer. We're talking Shohei Ohtani tonight. Man, oh man, we got some trade rumors all ready to dig into. We got Madison Bumgarner. He's on the market, everyone. He is on the market. And funny enough, I just talked about him last night. He got shelled, and I was just saying last night, this guy I thought had to get DFA'd. I didn't see how the Diamondbacks could keep him on the roster. And very next morning, they DFA him. I don't know. Were the Diamondbacks watching the stream last night? I mean, I'm just saying. I basically said like 10 times they had to DFA the guy, and they did it. So we'll talk about that. I got a few teams that I think could be a decent spot for him. I don't think this is the last of Madison Bumgarner that we're going to see. He is only 33 years old. I am pretty sure he is going to land with a different team. So we're also going to talk about the Oakland A's. It looks like they are finally moving on from Oakland. And I'm actually going to go back in time a little bit. I'm going to go take a look back at some old Oakland A's teams. There's a lot of rich history with the Oakland A's. Great teams in the past. I'm going to just kind of take a trip down memory lane a little later on in the show and kind of pay tribute to the Oakland A's. They have great fans. And, sure, for the people in Las Vegas, it's an exciting possibility that the A's could be coming to their city. But at the end of the day, though, it's pretty sad, for Oakland fans. Because like I said, the Oakland A's, they go back a ways, and there's been a lot of good teams in Oakland. So I'm going to go through them and kind of give you my thoughts on everything there. And what else we got? I know we got something else. Oh, Liam Hendriks was some great news. Speaking of the Oakland A's, Liam Hendriks has some great news. And, man, just a lot to talk about tonight. I'm excited about it. But, everyone, before I do get started, if you can, hit that subscribe button for me. We're trying to get to 30K by the All-Star break. I would greatly appreciate it if you can help us get there. But I will greatly appreciate more if you can hit the like button for me. Smash the crap out of the like button for me, everyone. I know all the YouTubers like to say it, but really it does help with the algorithm. If you can just take the 1 second to hit it, I will be greatly appreciative. When the like button is hit, it will help get us out into the algorithm. I can't stress that enough. Hit the bell notification as well. That way you know I go live every single time. Share the stream to the public. Let's get some more baseball fans in here tonight. But everyone, oh, actually, really quick before I do get started, make sure you check out the link in the description below. We are sponsored by Sorare Fantasy Baseball. Man, oh man, I'm having myself a good old time playing with those cards, playing a different kind of fantasy baseball. So if you want to join in on the fun, click the link in the description below. It's completely free to get started. Don't forget, we are partners here with SeatGeek. Use my code Hyde, $20 off. And we are sponsored as well by BetOnline, your #1 source for all your sports betting needs, whether that is Major League Baseball, basketball, hockey, UFC, golf, or whatever. So use the code BELIEVE. You'll get a 50% welcome bonus. Let's get to it here, everyone. So like I said, we got a lot to talk about here. But you know what? I want to start off with some good news. Everyone always wants to talk about the negative stuff right off the bat. But no, I'm gonna talk about the positive stuff. We got a super chat coming in. Jacob Toon, he says here, Ohtani to Oakland. I love it. Why not go out with a bang, Oakland? Go out with a bang. Let's get hot. Let's win another 20 straight games. Let's get back into contention, and just go out with a bang. Just go get Ohtani. It'll be great. Jacob Toon, I appreciate it, my friend. Ohtani to Oakland, says Jacob Toon. But as for the good news, we got Liam Hendriks announcing he is cancer-free. That is absolutely fantastic. He posted on his Instagram, and it looks like he's in the clear, everyone. I mean, this is great. This is great news. I remember, first talking about this. I mean, it's never fun to talk about this kind of stuff, especially for a guy who is just so young. This is a guy that's in the prime of his career with the Chicago White Sox. But he posts here, actually he has a few different pictures here, saying how it started versus how it's going. Remission, it's official. I'm cancer-free. I think this is absolutely just the best news. Everyone's talking about Max Scherzer. We're talking about Ohtani today as well. Madison Bumgarner DFA'd. We all love the drama. We all love the negativity. But you know what? This is great news. He posted some pictures here. He actually really posted quite a few pictures, kind of just going through the whole process. I mean, my goodness. I mean, look at all this. This is crazy. Actually showed where he got surgery. That's pretty nuts. Man, oh man. It's just really great to see. He's active again. That's one thing. I worked with, if you don't know, I am a teacher full time. In my first year of teaching, I had a co-teacher, and I'll tell you right now, the chemo that, or she had cancer, unfortunately ended up passing away a couple of years after I started teaching, but I was her co-teacher. And I'll tell you right now, when you're getting chemo, it's no joke. Like, there were some days where she was just rough. Like, she had no energy. She would still come to work. That's how much of a warrior she was. She would get chemo, be completely drained, and still come into work. So to see Liam Hendriks here on the bike, just being active, I mean, that's just great to see. Still no word on, any kind of a timetable for a return for Liam Hendriks, but just the fact that he is up and active and he is kind of getting back into the swing of things, I would imagine we could see him back at least, but hopefully by the All-Star break. I think that would be great. Maybe a month or two, or whatever. I'm not really sure what's coming next for him, but if he can get back by the All-Star break, that would be fantastic. Sure, yeah, he could help out the Chicago White Sox, of course, but at the end of the day, his well-being is the most important thing. But we all know he wants to get back out there. So, but yeah, he continues to post a few more pictures here, posting with the staff that he was getting treatment from, and picture with his wife. Hey, this is great to see, man. This guy, he's been one of my favorite pitchers in the game. I love the energy that he has on the mound. Dude's a warrior out there. He's fantastic. But, hey, great news. I remember when we first talked about this, I was the one here saying this guy's just going to just wreck the treatments. He's going to get through this just like a champ. And here he is, just like I said. I did not doubt for a second that he would have any troubles with his treatments at all. Of course, I'm sure he had some bad days, but he will be back before we know it. So, great news. Great news. Now, let's move on here to Max Scherzer. He dominated the headlines yesterday. If you didn't see it, he was ejected from the game, had a quote foreign substance on the inside of his glove on his hand. The umpires had said that it was the stickiest that they had felt ever since checking, for foreign substances 2 years ago. Max Scherzer, he was just going through a Max Scherzer sort of an episode. I thought back a couple of years ago when he was throwing a fit. I think it was in Philly when he was getting checked and whatnot, and Girardi wanted him to get checked again, and the dude just started like ripping off all of his clothes. He threw his belt off, threw his glove on the ground, his hat. I thought he was going to rip off his pants. Like I really thought that's what he was going to do. In front of thousands of fans. I thought he was going to rip his pants off and just start running around in his whitey tighties out there. But Scherzer, again, had a bit of an episode. He was reacting very strongly with the umpires, and in the end, he ended up getting ejected. He was saying over and over again, it was just rosin and sweat. But the umpires, they actually came out with a statement today. Major League Baseball came out with a statement explaining the entire process. And yesterday, I was a bit more in the middle when, kind of just reading about everything. I was more down the middle. I think Scherzer, what I was saying yesterday is he could have done some things, to maybe prevent what was going on. But then I thought, too, the umpires, it sounded like maybe there needed to be a bit more clarity. But it sounds like after reading the report today, it sounds like the umpires gave him more than enough chances to be able to stay in the game, and he did not follow through. That was one thing I said against Max Scherzer yesterday as well, is that the number one attribute of a player, you can hit for power, a pitcher can get a ton of strikeouts, but the number one attribute for a player, just like Tom Brady said in the past, big Tom Brady fan, he said himself, the best thing a player has is his availability. And at the end of the day, the stat line for Max Scherzer said 3 innings pitched. And that was it. At the end of the day, sure, you can sit here and say what you want about the umpires, but Scherzer did not do what he needed to do to stay on the field. I understand Mets fans are probably hearing me say that. They're going to get, a little upset about that, but it is what it is. At the end of the day, and that was the other thing too. He was given a chance to correct what was wrong, and he didn't do it. So that, to me, was on him. But then again, there have been some inconsistencies in the league and whatnot. People compared it with the Domingo Germán situation against the Minnesota Twins. However, with the Domingo Germán situation, the description of what was going on with that sounded way different than what was going on with Max Scherzer. The umpires said yesterday, Phil Cuzzi said, as well as the home plate umpire, said that it was probably the worst they had ever seen and felt when it came to the level of stickiness, while with Domingo Germán, they basically just said his hand felt tacky. Like the way they described it, it didn't seem anywhere near the same level as Max Scherzer. Now, let's kind of just dive into this. So Scherzer today given a 10-game suspension. It looked like he was going to appeal it at first, but now a sudden twist, he will not appeal the suspension. So let's take a look at this report. I'm going to read into this, everyone. I'm going to read this whole thing because I think we all need to read this. And this is kind of where I think people's opinions are going to change a little bit. Not Mets fans. They're just going to defend Scherzer until they're blue in the face. You could tell them you could completely give them a winning argument for the umpires, and Mets fans will still side with Max Scherzer at the end of the day. But let's take a look at this. Here is the report that Ken Rosenthal tweeted out. Major League Baseball reviewed relevant video and first-person reports, including a report from the umpiring crew led by crew chief Dan Bellino. Despite having been warned earlier in the game, including being required to make an equipment change, Mr. Scherzer, I like to just say Mr. Scherzer. Mr. Scherzer was found to be in violation of the foreign substance prohibition, I can't say the word, of the official baseball rules prior to the bottom of the fourth inning. After being checked at the conclusion of the second inning, Mr. Scherzer was told to wash his hands prior to returning for the next inning, and that he would be inspected again prior to the third inning. When Mr. Scherzer was inspected prior to pitching in the third inning, the umpires found that his pitching hand was clean, but found a sticky substance in the pocket of his glove, and Mr. Scherzer was told to replace his glove. Okay, so this is already 2 warnings now. Okay, let's backtrack here a little bit. He got checked at the conclusion of the second inning. He was told to wash his hands, which he did in front of a Major League Baseball official, but then he came out again when Mr. Scherzer was inspected prior to pitching in the third inning. The umpires found that his pitching hand was clean, but he still had the substance in his glove. So that's 2 warnings already for Scherzer, okay? So the umpires inspected Mr. Scherzer for a final time when he was walking to the mound to pitch in the fourth inning and found that Mr. Scherzer's throwing hand was even more glossy and sticky than it was during the second inning inspection, despite not yet even throwing a pitch. Based on the umpire's training to detect rosin on a pitcher's hands, they concluded that the level of stickiness during the fourth inning check was so extreme that it was inconsistent with the use of rosin and or sweat alone. Sorry. Mets fans, you lose. It's over. Done. Kaput. Kick the bucket. Nail in the coffin. You lose. He loses. Done. He got warned twice. He came back out again. His hand was even worse than it was when he first got talked to. Your arguments are invalid. I don't care what you say. I don't care how you feel. It's over. Done. And he's not even going to appeal it. And he said himself, he's like, oh, well, I can't win. Well, of course you can't win, Scherzer, because you got warned 2 times and then you came back out again and you still got caught. I'm sorry. No, I am done with this argument. I am over it. Done. You lose. It's over. Okay. Done. So, now, when it comes to it was inside the glove, what I do think it could have been, because I talked about this yesterday as well, he has the pitch comm, I believe, on the inside of his glove, and they were holding it down with some kind of tape. So I do think maybe that could have been something there. At the end of the day, though, he still had stuff on his throwing hand. So I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's crazy because I commented on this post. As you can see here, I even commented, dude got 2 warnings before they ejected him. Absolutely justified. I still had people arguing with me. I'm like, did you read? It's right there. He got 2 warnings and then he got ejected after. He got checked a 3rd time. He got 3 chances. 3. I don't want to hear it anymore. It's over. Stop arguing about it. He loses. Gone for 10 games. That's it. Now, when will he serve the 10-game suspension? I don't know. But easy Steve. I see what you're saying here. He washed his hands with alcohol in front of an official. But then he came back out again and his hand was still sticky. I don't know how many times I got to say it. Yes, he did wash his hands. But then he came out again and his hand was still sticky. It's right there. It's right in the article. Like, there's no winning this argument. Just saying, man. But that's it for Max Scherzer. So he's not even appealing it. It looked like he was going to appeal it, but He pretty much just gave up on that. Now, let's get to the Mets game as of right now. They are playing the San Francisco Giants. Wi-Fi, his hands were sticky from the alcohol. That is completely not true. Like, no. The alcohol does not make your hands sticky, my friend. No, that's not how it works. But moving on to the game here, let's move on from Max Scherzer. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Here we go. Mets and the Giants. So we got a scoreless one here. Nothing going on as of right now. As for the Mets pitching, they got Kadai Senga going tonight. So far, so good for him. 3 innings, 1 hit, 2 Ks, a couple of walks. As for the Giants, they got some good pitching going on as well. Sean Manaea. Hey, this guy, rough season last year for him. He's doing all right here. 3 innings pitched, 1 hit, 2 Ks. He's got a good ERA to start things off this year. I thought going to the Giants was going to be a much better fit for him. Hey, let's see what happens with the Giants this year. You know, like, I don't know. I wonder, you know, I wonder if they got Manaea back on track. You know, I think he is signed to a 2-year deal. So I'm not saying they really have to trade him, but maybe if a team was looking for pitching. My guess is they would end up hanging on to him. But we'll have to wait and see how this game goes. Tom Amiano, how you doing, my friend? $4.99 super chat. I like Max, but he got caught on this one. What do we call this new sticky stuff? Spider sweat, rosin tech. Tom, man, I don't know. But you are right about it. Listen, I like Max Scherzer too. The guy's an animal out there. The dude is a bulldog on that mound. I love it. I love the tenacity that he shows. But you're right. He can't win this one. And he said it himself. He can't win because there's no argument. Because he got checked 3 times. I can't even say that anymore. But Tom Amiano, I greatly appreciate your super chat, my friend. Much appreciated. So let's move on here. We'll get back to this game in just a little bit, but let's actually go into the Yankees and the Angels today. Big win for the Yankees, a walk-off win yesterday on the sac fly. The Yankees kept it rolling here today, a 9-3 final, a big first inning for the Yankees today, 5 runs in the first. You had Anthony Rizzo with a base knock, Peraza walked in a run, and then Trevino with the big blow, a bases clearing double. The Angels did chip away a little bit. They put up a 2 spot in the 5th. Logan O'Hoppe had himself a good game in this one. He got a base hit that got a runner on, and then Taylor Ward, had a sac fly. That brought them a little bit closer. And then, like I said, O'Hoppe had himself a good game. Later on, he had a double that made it 5-3. So it was a pretty close game at one point, but then the Yankees, they just patted the lead in the 7th inning. LeMahieu had a double. IKF getting in on the action. My goodness, IKF, the reliever, coming through with the bat. He got a base hit. That drove in 2. Peraza had a base hit in the 8th inning. And that was all she wrote for the Angels here today. Just a good win for the Yankees overall. Nestor Cortez, he was solid for the most part. 6 innings, 4 hits, 7 Ks for him. Not a great day for the Angels pitching today, but in the end, just a solid win for the Yankees. Now, and also the bullpen was really good for the Yankees today too. Give the bullpen some credit. So let's dive into the juicy news, shall we? Since we're talking about the Angels, we got to talk about Mr. Shohei Ohtani. Here we go. Also, oh wait, no. Did I read this one? Here are the Scherzer comments on not going through with the appeal. I forgot to read this. I apologize. He says here, I thought I was going to get in front of a neutral arbitrator, but I wasn't. It was going to be through Major League Baseball, so given that process, I really wasn't going to come out on top. I'm going to follow what the Mets wanted me to do, and that was accept the suspension. You know why the Mets wanted you to do that? Because you couldn't win, even in front of a neutral arbitrator. A neutral arbitrator would be like, what the heck are you doing here, Max? Like, you can't win this argument. Of course the Mets didn't want you to go through with it, because you couldn't win it. Anyway, moving on. Jeff Passan, let's talk about Shohei Ohtani. So he went on ESPN. My goodness, ESPN is just complete and utter garbage these days. But Jeff Passan, he is the brain when it comes to the rumors that we all love. But he says here today, if the Angels fall out of contention, Ohtani could be traded, and he will definitely leave. So I agree with that. Ohtani, especially after playing in the World Baseball Classic, winning a championship, I mean, come on now. This guy, he just got used to winning a big event. He's got the winning vibes right now. He wants to win. He wants to go to the playoffs. He wants a World Series championship. So, to me, if the Angels are out of it, I don't see how there would be any way, unless the Angels threw like $60 million at him per year. I don't see like how. I mean, the guy doesn't even need the money at this point, like or a huge contract, because he's gonna get so much money wherever he goes anyway. He's got all the endorsements. I mean, the Angels could throw, like I said, $60 million at him per year, and he will not. That's not going to matter. The guy wants to win. To me, if the Angels are out of it, I don't see why they would hang on to him. It makes absolutely no sense. So I completely agree here with Jeff Passan when it comes to Ohtani. But then Jon Heyman comes out here today. I don't know what Jon Heyman. I mean, I don't know. Like, I understand why this source told him there was a 0% chance Shohei Ohtani gets traded. It's because it's leverage at the end of the day. That's all it is. So getting into it, put aside the Angels are improved. Moreno and company haven't given up hope of holding on to Ohtani long term, so a trade seems out of the question. 0% chance. One Angels person connected estimated the chances of a trade. Again, that's leverage. They're not going to come out here and say, oh, yeah, maybe he could get traded. No, of course they're going to say 0% chance, because then they're just going to lose leverage, right? I mean, that's just the name of the game. So I wouldn't wade too much into this one. Heyman, this is how Jon Heyman likes to, get the clicks. It's a typical move. He knows, Heyman knows what's going on here, but he's got to do his job. He's got to write the articles. He's got to get the clicks. He's got to get paid. So I would not weigh into this very much. Jeff Passan, obviously you got to side with him on this one because it's obvious. I mean, it's just a no-brainer. Why, if the Angels are just kind of hanging around the wild card picture, it depends on how far out they are of a spot. If they're within like a couple of games, I could see a scenario where they hang on to him, right? But if they're out of it by 6 games, 7 games from the third wild card spot, then yeah, I think at that point you need to trade him. I don't see a reason to hang on to him at that point. But if you're within striking distance of the third wild card, sure, I can see that. I could see them hanging on to him. So it really just depends on where the Angels are going to be in the standings. So, I mean, when you think about where Ohtani could end up going, I mean, honestly, the possibilities are endless, pretty much, at least with the playoff contenders, right? Now, if I'm thinking of a team that, could be of, wanting his services, you got to think of a team where, they're going to need some prospects. The one thing with Shohei Ohtani is the closer he gets to free agency, the more likely his value will come down a little bit, because you're only going to be getting him for a guaranteed half a season. So that is going to affect his trade value a bit, but it's also Shohei Ohtani, so that could end up canceling each other out in the end. So I could see still at the end of the day, it is going to take a pretty decent package to get him. I don't think it will take a Juan Soto kind of a package, because Juan Soto obviously is a unicorn kind of a player, and he had contract control. So that's a completely different situation. Now, when you look at Ohtani as of right now, you're looking at a median value of right around $61.1 million. That's the median. It could go as low as 48.9, or it could go as high as 73.3. So right around 60 million is the middle range. So if I'm thinking of some teams here that could use, Shohei Ohtani, I mean, obviously any playoff contender that can afford him will go for him, because that's the one thing, is the guy just pitches and he hits. So it's very easy to just insert him into your lineup. It's not like he's strictly a left fielder or a second baseman. And that's what is so good about him. Obviously, he's just so amazing at what he does, but he's just so easy to put on your team. He's your DH, and he's a He's a top of the rotation guy. It's the easiest player ever. Now, if I'm thinking of some teams, the Yankees would be intriguing. That would be amazing. But again, when I'm thinking of Brian Cashman, I wonder, Cashman has made deadline deals before. Would he find this one worth it for half a year? It doesn't sound like something Cashman would do. Cashman, he tends to want the players that are a bit more under contract control. I wouldn't count the Yankees out of it. The Rangers would be an interesting possibility, but then again, I feel like while they are really good right now, they're off to a great start. I wonder, but I just wonder because they are still, in my opinion, in a slight rebuild. I think they're pretty much almost out of it. They're not too far away, but could they just, if they're in a good spot, could they just go for it? I don't know. The Braves, I feel like at this point, their farm system is pretty depleted. I wonder if they would want to do something like that, or if they could even afford it, to be completely honest with you. Look out for the Cubs. The Cubs have been mentioned as a team that could go after Shohei Ohtani. With the Cubs, they're kind of in the same position as the Rangers, where they have spent some money in the last couple of off seasons. They're good, but are they fully there yet? Right? Are they fully out of this slight rebuild slash retweak? Right? Could the Cubs do something like this? I'm not sure. I'd find it. I don't know. With Jed Hoyer, I wonder if he would bite the bullet here and not bite the bullet, but hit the trigger on it for a half season. I think the Dodgers would be really interesting, but then again, will Artie Moreno want to trade him to the Dodgers? Because that's another thing too. If a team that wants to try and, trade for him, would they really look into signing him for an extension? I could see the Dodgers doing that. There's a whole bunch of possibilities. The Padres, the thing with the Padres is their farm system is really depleted now after getting Soto. I feel like they would be more of a free agent fit. And if you got other teams, I don't know. I wonder, probably not the Cardinals. Cardinals, if they're able to, get themselves turned around, which I think they will, that would be a really fun fit. Honestly, I feel like they could use a guy like him at the top of the rotation, and that lineup would be just hellacious with him in the middle of it. I just wonder if they have the pieces to get a deal done. The Mets, the Mets would be interesting. I think if there is one team that would be willing to go a half season for Shohei Ohtani, I do think it would be the Mets, to be completely honest. Because with Ohtani, they have, now the question is with the Mets, is because they are still trying to rebuild that farm. That's why they're spending so much money, is because they want to put as competitive of a team on the field while also giving them flexibility to still continue to rebuild that farm. So would they be willing to spend those kind of pieces? I don't know about that. So that would be kind of a wait and see sort of a thing. But I could honestly see, Steve Cohen maybe pulling the trigger on something like that if they could get it done. So the Mets, I think, would be a huge possibility in terms of a trade. The Blue Jays could be interesting because they do got prospects. I feel like in that deal, they would have to give up Ricky Tiedemann. But would they want to give him up for a half year? I don't know about that. There are teams. I just wonder which team would make sense to go to. You basically you're going for broke with Ohtani, right? That, could Houston maybe? Houston, they do have some young players that they could possibly part with. Maybe Houston could be but it's also in the division too. But would the Angels care about that? If the Astros, they're going for a repeat, maybe the Astros could make some sense, but I don't know. They were in on Bryce Harper, a couple of years ago, a few years ago before he signed with the Phillies. So, and he was going to be a free agent eventually. So it's not like they've shied away from that before. So I could see the Astros as a possibility. Josh 1229, the Red Sox? Probably not. I don't see the Red Sox doing that. I can see them kicking the tires in free agency. I don't see them pulling off a deal like that, especially with Hyde Bloom. He's trying to really rebuild that farm. I don't see him giving up pieces. And, I feel like the Red Sox, sure, they have a competitive team. We'll talk about them in just a little bit, but they have a team that they can put on the field and go for a wild card, but I don't see how it really makes sense to make a trade for Ohtani at this point. Now, if I'm looking at teams, to be honest with you, I feel like the teams that make sense, the Mariners, I think the Mariners could make some sense, for a half season. They got some prospects. Maybe you could pull off a deal. If I were to kind of right off the cuff, I would see the Mets, the Astros, the Mariners, maybe the Yankees. I could see those teams possibly being a fit. They have to be able to, they have to be in playoff contention. It makes obviously no sense for a lower team to make a trade for them. We all know that. They have to have some prospects to get a deal done. And maybe not even just prospects. Maybe even just some younger major league ready players. I would think the Angels, because here's the thing with the Angels, is even if you don't have Ohtani, you still have a lot of guys on this team that are on big contracts where I would imagine that the Angels would probably want some major league ready talent, right? Kind of like when the Red Sox traded Mookie Betts and you got Alex Verdugo back in the deal. Like a piece like that coming back. A guy that has maybe been in the majors for a season or two. I could see a player like that. That's the one thing with the Mets is, you got someone like a Mark Vientos there. You got some other pieces in that farm. Let me actually just have some fun here. Let me put together a trade with the Angels and the Mets. And again, these values are right now. So these values, they do vary. So keep that in mind. But if you were the Mets, and if you really wanted to go for broke, let's take a look here. What could the Mets possibly throw at the Angels? Now, they're not going to be throwing Brett Beatty. Absolutely no way. You would have to give up some pieces. Mauricio, I think, would make some sense. Ramirez. And right there, I mean, you're getting kind of close. Because remember, with Ohtani, you're at $61 million for the median range. It could go as low as, around $48 to $50 million, or it could go as high as around $70. So it's not like, and remember, different organizations have different philosophies. So sure, baseball trade values, I think, is the best baseball trade simulator out there. It still has a whole bunch of haters, and I don't know why. But it's just a great tool to kind of bridge the gap, right? It's not going to get everything perfect, but they have such a good approval rating on their simulator. So I could maybe see, I don't know. Maybe you could send back like a David Peterson possibly. He's a younger pitcher that could go back into the Angels rotation. Maybe like a Blake Tidwell, and maybe you can get something done here, but it's up to the Mets if they would want to give up some prospects like these. So I could see the Mets getting something done, especially if they're gonna, if they're going for it, and they're having injuries in this rotation. It would make some sense to have Ohtani, and they need another bat. They really do. That's one thing I think the Mets, they're one bat away. I feel like Ohtani is the perfect piece for the Mets for a second half run. That would be huge, I think. That would be such a game changer. He is that perfect piece that I think the Mets need. If you put Ohtani in that Mets lineup with Francisco Lindor, with Pete Alonso, with Mark Canha, with Starling Marte, that's a really good lineup. And then you got a rotation in the playoffs of Ohtani, Scherzer, Verlander, and then you got other guys, behind them as well with Kadai Senga. Carrasco, I think, should be back. He's got bone spurs in the elbow. I would imagine he'll be back late season. You're going to eventually get Jose Quintana back as well. Ohtani would be huge for the Mets. if I were to lean one team, I would think the Mets would be the best fit at the trade deadline for Shohei Ohtani. Now, if I were to put together maybe a trade with the Astros, I know that would be in division. That would be kind of weird. But like I said, the Astros, they went after Harper a few years ago. Could they maybe do something here? But then again, I wonder if the Astros would want to send young pieces back, to the Angels. But then again, if you're getting Ohtani, that would be massive for this rotation. And that would be just a huge piece to try and help you repeat. So it would be interesting to see if they got something like this done. Let me pull up, let me actually see here. Do the Astros actually have enough to get this done? Because a lot of their high value players, they're in the major leagues already, but you do have some pieces. Now, Diaz, I don't think so, because you got Ohtani on the Angels. I don't think that makes a whole lot of sense. You got a younger piece, prospect in Gilbert. It does run a little short, I will say. Now that I'm looking at the numbers, I'm not quite sure if the Astros could actually really get a deal done. Yeah, I think I'm going to count the Astros out. On paper, I think it could make some sense, but when you actually get to the execution part of it, I'll count the Astros out. Let's stay in the division here. Maybe the Mariners. The Mariners, they've actually been making some trades in the last couple of years. Let's see if they have enough to get a deal done. And again, it's in division, so it'd be kind of weird, but I mean, hey, let's see. Could you imagine this rotation if you have Ohtani in it? I mean, my goodness. You'd have Ohtani. You'd have Luis Castillo. You'd have Robbie Ray. You'd have Logan Gilbert, George Kirby. I mean, my goodness, that pitching in the playoffs, that'd be incredible. That'd be incredible. But could they get a deal done? I would have, I don't know if they would want to part with Ford. I don't know about that. Let me actually pull up here the Mariners' top prospects. That I feel like Ford would probably not be on the table. You got some other guys. You got Bryce Miller. You got Cole Young. You got Emerson Hancock. You got a few pieces here. So let's actually see. So let me take out Ford. I mean, I don't know. You might. It's where he closes the gap in value. Let me put Miller. Let's put Cole Young. Maybe you could send back Matt Brash. Maybe. I don't know. And when you got a trade like this, Brash, Miller, and Young, that does close the gap a decent amount. So Brash would be kind of one of those major league ready pieces, right? For the Angels, I feel like that could make some sense. And even in the Mets trade, I put together a trade. You could even throw Vientos in there. Is Vientos ever going to get a spot on the Mets? So that could be a piece that you could put in for the Mets as well. So, you got other pieces here for the Mariners. I think the Mariners could get a deal done. I really think, right off, if I'm thinking here, just kind of without thinking too deeply into it, I think right now, trade deadline favorites for Ohtani would be the Mets. I think the Mariners would be interesting. I'm seeing Pierce Gilbert, the Braves. I don't know. I don't think the Braves. I don't. Because the Braves just really don't have a whole lot of farm. But maybe they could part with maybe a younger piece. Let me take a look at the Braves. And then you got the Dodgers as well. Because the Dodgers they definitely have pieces to get a deal done. But would the Dodgers... I mean, it would make some sense, if the Dodgers... But would the Dodgers maybe just want to wait until free agency? Because they will have a shot at him. Absolutely. Because they'll have the money for him. So they could think, well, do we want to give up, if we are going to end up signing him, do we want to give up the prospects, or could we give up the prospects and maybe that will increase our chances to sign Ohtani? But who knows? Maybe Ohtani wants to go out and test the market. So it would be really risky for the Dodgers because I think the Dodgers will be one of the top teams, for Ohtani. So let's take a look here at the Braves. Tom Amiano, 499 Super Chat. How you doing? It's hard to sell Ohtani on Boston after all that rain on the day he started. I know. He was having a rough time. I think that was he left the mound that day saying, yeah, I don't think I'm going to Boston. This is a sign to not come to Boston. But if we're looking at the Braves, look at all the value they have. My goodness. Look at these 4 players at the top. They have so much value. That is crazy. But when I'm looking at them, someone like Vaughn Grissom could be interesting. Maybe. I think they still see a lot in him, but he did not win the job. Maybe. You got a younger arm in Bryce Elder. You got Schuster. I mean, if you got maybe the Braves, man. That could, for a half season of Ohtani, it's going to come down to, do the Braves think this is worth it? I don't know. I wonder if the Braves would think this is worth it. If they want to give up some major league ready young pieces like that for half a season, sure, you could count the Braves in. You can count them in. Why not? Josh, 1229. How you doing? Robbie, should the Red Sox try to extend Verdugo earlier rather than later? I think Verdugo is looking like he is finally in a good place. It looks like Verdugo, he has settled into the leadoff role. He looks way more confident this year. He looks like he's also just in much better shape this year. I'm liking Verdugo. I think they should try and get something done by the All-Star break. I think at this point, I think an extension definitely is a possibility. I think they got to maybe at least start opening the door for a conversation. I agree. But the Braves, sure. If the Braves want to give up some young pieces like this for a half season, because I don't think their Braves are not going to go after Ohtani. They're just not. They're not going to go after him in free agency. So I just don't see that. It's not really their style. They like to sign the younger players. I don't see that would have to be just, all right, do we want to go for broke here? Do we want to give up these young pieces and see if Ohtani can lead us in the second half, and then that rotation would be just nasty in the rotation? You'd have Ohtani, Fried, Spencer Strider, Charlie Morton as your 4. I mean, my goodness. Kyle Wright. So Ohtani would basically, for the Braves, it would be a go for broke kind of move. It's really, basically that's what it is. So one more team I'll do. One more team, because I feel like we've been on this for a little bit. Let's do the Angels and the Dodgers. And again, with the Dodgers, I just wonder if the Dodgers, if they feel like they just want to wait until free agency. Do they want to maybe just jump the gun and try and make a move now? But then there's also another part of this as well. Artie Moreno probably doesn't want to trade him to the Dodgers. He'd probably rather just Ohtani sign with the Dodgers. I wonder if Moreno has it in him to approve a deal to the Dodgers. So, sure. The Dodgers, they could get a deal done. You got pieces here. You got Bush. You got Stone. Right there, those two guys close a lot of gap. You got some lower pieces here. You got a rushing. He is a catcher, so probably not, because you got O'Hoppe there. You got an Estrini. So, yeah, of course the Dodgers can get this done. But there's also just other roadblocks in this as well. So, I think my number one team, I think, for Ohtani, when it comes to the philosophy, when it comes to just a fit, the Mets, to me, make the most sense for Ohtani as a trade deadline team. That's just my opinion. I think the Mariners could be interesting. Sure, the Braves, if they want to kind of go against their philosophy of how they, want to get players, why not? If they really wanted to, I would think that they could. We'll just have to wait and see on this. This is going to be really interesting for Ohtani. And again, I am on the side of Jeff Passan. John Heyman is saying, he talked to a guy for the Angels today, said 0% chance. But of course, they're going to say that because That's leverage at the end of the day. Captain Spartan 04, how you doing? What are some of the top left fielders that are even on the trade market? Well, one guy at first was Ian Happ, but now he signed a contract. But I didn't even see the Cubs trading him because they're trying to just get a better team. Now, if I were to go outfielders, let's go take a look here. Left fielders. If you're just talking strictly left fielders, could TJ Friedel be a guy? He's off to a pretty good start with Cincinnati. If the Pirates completely fall out, could Brian Reynolds get back on the market? Even then, I don't think Brian Reynolds is going to go back on the market. I think they're going to end up getting an extension done with him. The Pirates are just looking really fun right now. If I'm looking at other players, I don't know. Maybe Jerickson Profar. There's really no reason for the Rockies to hang on to him. He could be a guy. Jake Fraley could be a guy. If you're looking strictly left fielders, these are some of the guys I would think. If you're just looking at outfielders in general, when it comes to trade targets, I mean, if I'm going down the list here, I don't. I wonder if the Orioles would dangle Austin Hayes in some trades. Maybe. Could Lamont Wade Jr. be an option for some teams? Maybe. If I'm looking further down the list here, Victor Robles. Maybe Victor Robles. I could see that. Could Charlie Blackmon? He's making a bit of money, but could he be dangled in some deals? He's off to a pretty good start this year. Will Myers. Actually, Will Myers. I completely forgot about him. He's off to a really good start this year with the Reds. I could see him being dangled. I think anyone really on the Reds is up for grabs, possibly. So, I don't think the Tigers will get rid of Matt Vierling, personally. I don't see that. So, but I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see how this all unfolds. But everyone, that was all I had on Ohtani. So we'll just have to keep our eyes out for that. Now, I don't think the Red Sox are going to be a possibility for Ohtani, but that's okay. They won today. So let's talk about the Red Sox. So, hey, good bounce back win for the Red Sox today. Tough loss last night. They just looked really rough. Corey Kluber got completely roughed up last night. But bounce back win today. Back to 500 for the Red Sox. It was a great day for Tanner Houck. What a start for Tanner Houck today. Went 7 innings, 6 hits, 3 earned, 7 Ks. Now, the big story with Tanner Houck coming out of this one, will he be a mainstay in this rotation? I've been on the record saying, kind of seeing how the rotation was looking on paper, it looked like Houck was going to be a bit more of a weapon out of the bullpen. It looked like that was kind of a good spot for him because hasn't really shown a lot of times that he can go deeper into games. He's had some flashes, but it seemed like this is a guy that could come out of the bullpen, kind of like what Josh Winkowski's been doing this year for the Red Sox. A guy that can come in, 3-4 innings. A guy like that, he can come, set up some games. He can even close some games, here and there. He's kind of like that Swiss Army knife, right? But he has been pitching really well in this rotation so far. And I think it is very possible he could end up staying in this rotation, mainly just because James Paxton had a rehab start just recently. He didn't even pitch a full inning, and he gave up 7 runs, and he walked 2 guys. I don't know what Paxton is going to be when he comes back. I got no clue. He actually came out of the bullpen for that appearance. Could that maybe be a sign that Paxton could be a bullpen guy for the Red Sox? Maybe. I don't know. But I think Houck, this is really his job to lose right now. Brian Bale, he struggled against the Angels the other day. I think he is going to be fine. They're going to work him through those growing pains. I don't know. Houck just looked great today. It was really good to see. It was really good to see him just pitching the way he was. Just good stuff. He was showing some decent velocity today. Just mixing and matching. Just throughout the strike zone today. He just looked great. It was fun to watch. But the offense was really fun to watch for the Red Sox today. Verdugo, we just talked about him. You know, could there be an extension on the horizon for Alex Verdugo? I mean, why not? You get the game started today. He's had a couple of leadoff home runs this year. That was his second of the year. He's led off the game. Both of his home runs have led off the game. Yeah, like in the top of the first. So Verdugo is someone that is just setting the tone for the Red Sox early on. I mean, if you're looking just a quick look at his batting average so far, hitting .338, and he's getting on base too. He's getting on base right now with a .407 on base, .888 OPS overall. He's looking great, man, and that's good to see. You know, because last year he was not looking all that great. So Verdugo's off to a great start this year, but it was a 6-run third inning that really set the tone. Rafael Devers had a double in the third to make it 2-0. Yoshida has not been hitting well as of late, and he had himself a pretty good game today. A couple of RBIs. He got a base hit in the third that made it 3-0. He had an RBI base hit in the 8th inning as well. Connor Wong had a couple of RBIs today, and Jarren Duran. 3 RBIs in this game, had a 2 RBI double that made it 7-0. Jarren Duran is looking pretty good so far. He's got 5 hits and 13 ABs since getting called up. 4 of them are doubles. Keep your eye out for Jarren Duran. He's off to a really good start. Could he end up being the center fielder full time for the Red Sox? I mean, right now, it's looking like it. With Adam Duvall out, Jarren Duran right now has a presence at the bottom of this order, and I'm thinking now, he is taking the job by the horns, and it looks like he's going to hang on to it. He's looking great. That swing looks way better this year. He is way quicker to the ball now. He just looks like a different guy. He's got more confidence now. He's looking great. Yu Chang, he came back from the paternity list today. He had himself a 2-run home run. You know, it's funny because I had a guy when the Red Sox, when they called up Emmanuel Valdez yesterday, he ended up getting sent back down today. There was one guy on Twitter that was saying, oh, can we just get rid of Yu Chang? I'm like, why would we get rid of Yu Chang? And he's like, he's awful. I'm like, no, he's not. He literally won a game for us against the Angels. He basically put the Red Sox on his back in that game. And he was telling me, he's like, oh, well, that's the only good game that he's had. Well, Yu Chang is here to be a backup on the bench. Anything he gives you offensively is just icing on the cake. You know, it's just a plus. You know, I like Yu Chang for his versatility and his defense. And hey, hitting a home run here today, that's fine with me. That's not too bad if you ask me. But for the Twins, not a whole lot for the Twins in this one. A whole lot yesterday. But Kenta Maeda got the start in this one, and he actually had a very hard-hit ball off his ankle. Actually fell to the ground, and he actually left the game after 2 innings. So Kenta Maeda, keep your eye out for him. I am wondering if he'll be able to make his next start. He got hit pretty good on that. So, but in the end, Red Sox win the series. They're back to 500. I'm a happy Red Sox fan. Let's get going here to another transaction that happened today. And I basically called it last night. I was speculating, you know, was Madison Bumgarner going to get DFA'd? It felt like there was really nothing else that you could do with him. Anytime he was getting into a game, it was basically a loss. There was no reason to keep Bumgarner on this team, and the only reason was just because you were paying him so much money. But the Twins decided today that they basically said they would rather pay Madison Bumgarner $34 million to not be on the team. They think him not being on the team is worth $34 million. Digest that for a second. That's how bad he's been. I really hope he can move on to a different organization and find himself again. This was a guy that my gosh, like when he was with the Giants in those playoff runs, this dude was nuts. Like, you could not beat this guy. And I still think he could be of value to some other teams, but man, you know, just the fact that he was still owed $34 million on this contract, and the fact that the Diamondbacks basically just said, listen, we're going to pay you to just go home, man. We're going to pay you to, we We would rather pay Madison Bumgarner to play on another team. That's how bad we think he is. So, man, that's just like, that's pretty interesting when you really think of it that way, because that's really what it is. They don't think he is anywhere near worth $34 million. They think it is way more worth it to put Madison Bumgarner possibly even on another team in the same division. They think it's more worth it to be paying him $34 million to possibly be playing for a division rival. That's crazy. Like that. I mean, but it's not crazy because he's been that bad at the same time. So I completely understand the Diamondbacks making this move. You had to make this move because he wasn't doing anything for you. It just seemed like I don't know what's going on. I don't know. It was just not a good fit from the start. I don't know why. Like, I don't know if there was just like a disconnect with him and the organization. I don't know if there was just something just didn't click. I don't know why. But it was pretty sad to see because he had just so much success with the San Francisco Giants. Now, if we go look at Madison Bumgarner on Baseball Savant, the big thing with Bumgarner is his velocity has really gone down. He has basically just been getting hit harder and harder and harder every single year. Now, looking at the velocity here, back in 2015, he was averaging around 90 miles an hour, but he could still get it up there to, 92, 93. But as you can see, his velocity has just dipped over the last few years. Last year, it was down to 89 miles an hour on average. In 2021, it was 88 on average. This year, it looks like it was right around the same. The movement on his off-speed pitches has just dropped. However, there is still, I think, something that can be done with Bumgarner. Now, if you go back to last year, his changeup still looked pretty good. If you go back to 2021, his cutter still had something decent to it when it came to run value. Curveball had a little something to it. This year, though, he did not have any positive run value. But if you look at the movement on his pitches, right, the cutter this year, against the average cutter, had 1.4 more inches of vertical movement compared to the average cutter. So there is still something there. And the changeup still looks okay compared to the average changeup when it comes to vertical movement. So if I'm thinking of some teams that could possibly pick up Madison Bumgarner, I got a couple right off the bat. Now, if you go to Fangraphs, okay, if you go to the pitch types and if you go to pitch value, the top team that right now is using cutters very well are the Milwaukee Brewers. I wonder, because the Brewers, they lost Woodruff, right? They got some other injuries going on with this team. Peralta, you never know with him, right? He had something with his shoulder last year. Could the Brewers maybe be a spot for Madison Bumgarner? I wonder. Their pitchers have done well with changeups as well. That's going to be the big key for Bumgarner, is using a cutter and his changeup, right? Because right now, those are his two best pitches. So I think Milwaukee could be a pretty decent fit, right? They're very analytical over there. Maybe they can figure something out. You got a guy like Corbin Burns there. Those two guys are just competitors. I could see an environment like that maybe helping them out. So I would look out for the Brewers. I would look out for the Rays, right? The Rays just lost Jeffrey Springs. So I think the Rays could be interesting, and they've done well with pitchers in the past, right? Getting them back on track. They're very big on the analytics as well. So I would say right now, I would say the Brewers. I would say the Rays. I think those could be interesting because they have had some injuries in their rotation. I would also even say the Dodgers. That might sound kind of crazy, but the Dodgers rotation this year seems a little thinner, and look at what they had done with some guys in the past. Look at what they did with Tyler Anderson before he went to the Angels. They brought in Tyler Anderson and they really got him back on track. And now he's that was his best season by far last year. I could see the Dodgers being a fit, but then again, I also wonder if the Dodgers would want to do that because teams in that division are just so used to him at this point. I just wonder if they would even want to even kick the tires. That's the only thing I could see holding back the Dodgers on that, or if they just genuinely just don't see anything with him. So right now, my top 2 teams for Madison Bumgarner would be the Brewers, would be the Rays. I think those 2 organizations have the best chance to get him back on track, personally. So if I were to go ranking-wise, I would say the Brewers, number 1, because Woodruff is out for a little while. I would say Rays at number 2. And then I would say the Dodgers at number 3, personally. Those are my top 3 for Madison Bumgarner right now. So we're just going to have to wait and see where he ends up going. But let's talk about the Padres. Let's talk about the Padres, shall we? Let me click out of some of these tabs. Let's stay in the National League West. And Fernando Tatis Jr. is back, everyone. He is back. He came up to the plate in Arizona, and he was booed heavily. There will be some people out there that would be like, no, you could hear, the cheers were starting to really get through. No, that dude was getting booed in Arizona. No surprise. But look at the Padres right now. I haven't looked at this game because I was getting ready for the stream and the game was just starting. So there's been a lot of action in this one so far. Look at the Padres. All of a sudden, they got some energy here. Now, I will say this. Man, why is Bogaerts not leading off? He has been your guy in the leadoff spot. I'm sorry. I am keeping Bogaerts in the leadoff spot. I understand he's hitting well, but dude, that guy has been the spark plug. I would have put Tatis Jr. in the 4 spot. That guy was hitting bombs in the minor leagues. Hit 6 home runs in the minor leagues? I'm sorry. I'm keeping Tatis Jr. in the 4 spot, where if you got Bogaerts on, Machado, Soto, yeah, I'm putting Tatis as the cleanup guy. I'm just saying, man. I don't know. I thought that was just kind of silly to take Bogaerts out of that spot. I don't know. But we've got some action here. Let's go over the scoring so far. But Tatis Jr., in his first at-bat back, he did strike out. Juan Soto was called out on strikes as well. And Manny Machado struck out. So, what a great start for the what a great start for the Padres. You got Tatis back, and then you just strike out the side. I mean, my goodness. Wacha is pitching for the Padres here. 10 hits and 5 runs through 4 innings. Michael Wacha, my goodness. Red Sox legend. What are you doing? But Ryan Nelson, it's the Nelson show right now for the Diamondbacks. Both their pitchers, both named last name Nelson, have been pitching. But Ryan Nelson got the start. He made it through 5. Not a great start overall. Ended up giving up a couple of home runs. So let's go through the scoring in this one. Trent Grisham got it started in the top of the second with a double. That made it 2-0. Geraldo Perdomo, he had a triple that got the Diamondbacks back in the game. But then Xander Bogaerts, my boy, Xander Bogaerts with a home run that made it 4-1. Matt Carpenter, that mustache, go deep, 5-1 Padres, but Michael Wacha started to cough it up. Josh Rojas, hey, I want to give a shout out to Josh Rojas here. This guy's been great. Look at the start that Rojas has been having for the Diamondbacks. Hitting .328, a .373 on base, .799 OPS overall. He's been really good, man. Very underrated so far. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. had a double that made it 5-4, and then a wild pitch from Wacha where LGJ ended up scoring, and we got a tie game. So we'll have to keep track of this. It's in the top of the 6th right now, so we will have to monitor this as the night goes on. But we have another game going on as well. Oh, we got a close one here with the Cubs and the Dodgers. It is 2-2 in the top of the 9th in Wrigley. The bases are loaded right now for the Dodgers. You got my boy James Outman on or at the plate. Had a home run in this one. That's actually been all the offense in this one today. Michael Grove got the start for the Dodgers. Javier Assad got the start for the Cubbies. Max Muncy, he got it started with a home run in the second. And then Bellinger, another home run against the Dodgers against his former team. Bellinger's back. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm calling it right now. Cody Bellinger is back. I think I basically I said to everyone in the beginning of the year, listen, Cody Bellinger, it's such a perfect situation with the Cubs. He's finally removed from all of these injuries he's been going through. He's back. I'm also, I think it's hilarious that Cody Bellinger, his home run, I mean, my God, like, I can't believe I'm even about to say this. This is a child-friendly show. But Cody Bellinger's home run went 420 feet. It is April 20th. 420 feet. That's got to be made up. Like, there's no way his home run went 420 feet. I bet it went like 423 or like 417. And then whoever was like, tracking the numbers, I bet they just said, dude, this will be hilarious. Let's just say it was 420 feet. I guarantee that was made up. There's no way, because that is just too good to be true. That is hilarious. But James Outman, he had a home run that made it 2-1 Dodgers. And then actually, how did the Cubs tie? Oh, my boy, James Outman with a grand slam. Oh, my, that's my Rookie of the Year pick. James Outman has given the Dodgers the lead in the top of the ninth. Oh, James Outman with his second home run of the game, and it's a grand slam in the top of the ninth. Oh, my goodness. I cannot believe that. I was just about to say the Cubs had tied the game in the fourth inning thanks to a Nico Horner base hit, but James Outman just blew it open, everyone. The Dodgers are now up 6-2. James Outman's getting Rookie of the Year, everyone. I called it. I'm telling you. Dude, this guy's good. He is good, man. That's crazy. I can't believe that. We're live. Man, oh man, who would have thought? But let's recap a couple more games here, and then we're going to talk about the Oakland A's before we finish up for the night. The Pirates with another win today, beating the Reds 4-3. Fun game for the Pirates today. Roansy Contreras, a solid game for him today on the mound. 6 2/3 innings pitched, 5 hits, 1 earned, 8 strikeouts. Connor Joe, Jack Sawinski, back-to-back home runs. Connor Joe with a 3-run jack. Sawinski with a solo shot. Sawinski's been good, man. I'm telling you. The Reds did chip away in this one, but in the end, the Pirates locked it down. David Bednar with his 6th save of the season. That guy has been shutting it down for the Pirates this year. This Pirates team, they're looking like America's team this year. So, as for the Rockies and the Phillies, the Rockies pick up the Game 1 win, a 5-0 shutout. The Phillies, I don't know what is going on with this team. They're looking all right at times, and then they just look miserable other times. But Ryan Feltner for the Rockies, a good start today. 5 2/3 innings pitched, 3 hits, 6 Ks. CJ Cron, a 2-run shot in the first inning. Elias Diaz, he had an RBI base hit. The runner actually was called out at home plate, but then it got overturned. So in the end, the Rockies, they got a couple more. They got another RBI from Mike Moustakas. Look at that. Moustakas sighting for the Rockies. He had an RBI double in the ninth. And in the end, the Rockies won this one rather easily. So the Phillies, they're still searching for it. Now, one more bit of news before I do get out of here. And actually, really quick, I just want to make sure. I'm going to check on the Padres one more time before I do get out of here. The Padres got 2 runners on. They got 2 outs at the moment in the top of the 6th. So we'll go check this. Oh, they just scored. That literally just updated right in front of my face. All right, we got to check this real quick. The Padres just scored 2 more. What do we got here? Let's see. Oh, Trent Grisham having himself a game here. Look at Trent Grisham here. He's got 4 RBIs in this one. He just had an RBI double. That scored Bogarts and Cruz. So the Padres have a 7-5 lead in Arizona, and none of the offense is coming from their first 3 hitters, Tatis, Soto, and Machado. Those guys are 0 for, It's the bottom of the order and Bogarts that is getting the job done. That's pretty hilarious if you ask me. But we got some news here today out of Oakland. This is big news, everyone. I think it's, to be honest with you, I wouldn't even say it was an obvious thing because there have been rumors of the A's, possibly getting a new stadium in Oakland. There were designs out. The city was looking at it, but they weren't getting the approvals. And Major League Baseball, they've been putting pressure on it. And it looks like the A's have given up on Oakland, and they are now turning their attention to Las Vegas, and they have agreed to purchase land for a stadium site in Nevada. That's big news. That is big news. I mean, I've been saying this now for the last year or two. I was thinking, to me, Vegas seems like a perfect spot for the A's. It's a good baseball city. They got minor league baseball there. I just think that city is going to thrive with a baseball team. They got the Raiders now, and now they're going to have a baseball team as well. It's a great baseball town, and I think it's going to be really great for the fans out there. I think they're going to pack that stadium. I think it's going to be great. Hey, it's sad news for Oakland. It's really sad news. But they do have some comments here. I believe, who made these comments? Team president Dave Cavall. This is what he said. For a while, we were on parallel paths with Oakland, but we have turned our attention to Las Vegas to get a deal here for the A's and find a long-term home. Team president Dave Cavall told Mike Akers of the Las Vegas Review-Journal. Oakland has been a great home for us for over 50 years, but we really need this 20-year saga completed, and we feel there's a path here in southern Nevada to do that. Rob Manfred confirmed the news in a statement. We support the A's turning their focus on Las Vegas and look forward to them bringing finality to this process by the end of the year. I think they really have tried, obviously, to keep the A's in Vegas, but there's just been a lot of hiccups, like logistically, environmental wise. There's just been a lot of roadblocks, and it just seems like every time they took a step forward, they took a couple of steps back, and it just seemed like they just never were able to they couldn't get the approvals from the city. There were financial things going on as well. It just never felt like it was in the cards, right? But they go on to say here, who made these comments? So there was here, Oakland Mayor Shang Tao confirmed that negotiations between the A's and its current city are ending. So there it is. That is completely done. This is not a leverage play. The negotiations are over with Oakland. There had been reports of progress between the sides in recent months as they negotiated over a possible Howard Terminal Stadium in Oakland's Jack London Square. With the revelation that won't come to be, the mayor excoriated franchise leadership, accusing them of using negotiations with Oakland merely to try to extract a better deal out of Las Vegas. I don't know. It seemed like there were plans drawn up for a stadium. I think this is probably more just, there's some saltiness here. And he's probably thinking, hey, you just used us, right? I think they did have a desire to stay in Oakland. But then again, I wonder, could he be onto something there? It seems like with Oakland, they were just losing fans every year. They did need a new stadium, of course, but it was just the thing, did they really want to stay in Oakland? So he goes on to say here, I am deeply disappointed that the A's have chosen not to negotiate with the city of Oakland as a true partner in a way that respects the long relationship between the fans, the city, and the team. The city has gone above and beyond in all of our attempts to arrive at mutually beneficial terms to keep the A's in Oakland. In the last 3 months, we've made significant strides to close the deal. In a time of budget deficits, I refuse to compromise the safety and well-being of our residents. Given these realities, we are ceasing negotiations and moving forward on alternatives for the redevelopment of Howard Terminal. So again, there was just a lot of roadblocks when it came to just the environmental part of everything as well. There was, they were doing all these different checks, but they weren't getting approved. It just wasn't in the cards. So in the end, Las Vegas, a good baseball city, will be getting the Oakland A's, and I think that's going to be really good. This is really growing now. Don't forget they got the Knights, the Golden Knights with hockey. Like Vegas, all of a sudden now is huge when it comes to sports. You got a football team, you got a hockey team, and you got a baseball team. You got the city of Las Vegas as well. I mean, come on, it's like this is a prime spot now. Just saying. I bet this stadium is going to be awesome, but in the end, it is sad, so I want to take a look back at some of these Oakland teams. I mean, go back to the 1972 Oakland A's. I mean, they won 3 years in a row. They won the World Series in 72, 73, and 74. These were teams that had Reggie Jackson, Catfish Hunter, Raleigh Fingers. I mean, there were some legendary players on these Oakland A's teams. Go to 1989 when they won the World Series again. This is when they had Mark McGwire. They had Jose Canseco. You had Ricky Henderson. You had Dennis Eckersley. I mean, man, they've had so many just legendary players come out of Oakland here. And even if you go to the 2000s, that 2001 Oakland A's team was so good. Like, look at this team. You had Jason Giambi. You had Johnny Damon. You had Miguel Tejada. You had Barry Zito, Tim Hudson, Mark Mulder. You had Eric Chavez. I mean, this team was nuts, man. I mean, my goodness. You had Terrence Long, who had himself a decent season that year. Who else did you have here? You had Jermaine Dye was on that team as well. He had a 547 slugging that year. What a team this was. This was so good. And then you look at the rotation. You had Hudson, Mulder, and Zito. They combined for 39, 49, 56 wins. Those three guys combined for 56 wins. Corey Lytle at 13. I mean, holy cow. You had Jason Isringhausen as your closer. I mean, goodness. Like, what a team this was. This Oakland A's team was nuts. I can't believe they lost. That was the year Derek Jeter had that just ridiculous play at home plate, right? That got Jeremy Giambi out. My goodness. You know what play I'm talking about, where he just ran across the infield and he just lobbed it like a backhanded throw to the catcher, to Posada, and he got him out. This was a really good Oakland A's team that year. That was they were a heavy favorite in 2001. If you remember the Yankees that year, the Yankees didn't finish with a great record that year. Or wait, no, they did finish with a good record. What was the other? Oh, that was 2000 I'm thinking of. They were 87 and 74. I apologize. I take that back. But the Yankees, they were still a great team, obviously. But Oakland was a really good team as well, because you had like this incredible starting pitching. Man, that's crazy that they lost that. It's crazy. But if you go even further, then you go the very next year. Everyone knows the Moneyball movie, right? They lost all these players. They lost Giambi. They lost Damon. That movie, though, it really doesn't paint the whole picture. Like, they didn't even mention Barry Zito in that. They didn't even mention Tim Hudson. They didn't even mention Mark Mulder. They didn't even mention Miguel Tejada in that movie. Like, that was just, like, I don't know. But that team still did lose a lot of beef. They lost Isringhausen as well. He went to the Cardinals, I believe. Did he go to the Cardinals? I think he went to the Cardinals, right? Cardinals? Yeah, he went to the Cardinals. But this is a good team still. But the story of this Oakland A's team is they were pretty sluggish in the first half, and then they won 20 in a row. It was just incredible. You just had, like, they made these pickups, right? You got Scott Hatteberg. You had Chad Bradford in the bullpen. You made, some moves here, right? They still had a good team. All right. Remember, they brought in David Justice as well. They made the trade with the Yankees. So it was definitely a weaker team than 2001. But this team ended up being better. at least when it came to talent, they were weaker than the 2001 team. But when it came to just an overall team, they ended up winning one more game than the previous year. Ended up losing to the Twins once again in the American League Division Series. But then you had some other really great teams. You had the 2012 Oakland A's. They were very similar to the 2002 A's. Didn't have a great first half, but then they went just ballistic in the second half. I think they were like 13 games out in the division at one point. I think it was like the end of June or like middle of June. And then by the end of July, they were already like 3 or 4 games back in the division. Like, they just went on this crazy run. And then once again, they lose in the division round. They lost to the Tigers that year. 2013, they were good as well. Remember for the 2012, 2013 teams, right? You had some players, man. Like, you had Yoenis Cespedes. There was Josh Donaldson on the 2013 team. You had Brandon Moss, Josh Reddick, Coco Crisp, Bartolo Colon, right? Tommy Malone, Jared Parker, AJ Griffin. Like, you had some really solid players for these teams. Fast forward a little bit, go to 2018. I really thought this Oakland A's team was actually one of the better ones. I mean, when you look at some of these players that they had, you had Max Chapman, you had Matt Olson. And my goodness, you had Sean Manaea in the rotation. You had Marcus Semien. Jed Lowry was really decent that year. Remember, Chris Davis had almost 50 home runs that year. Ramon Laureano was a really good outfielder. You had some decent pieces on this team. I thought this was I really liked this lineup. When you had Semien, and you had Olson, and you had Chapman, who was just amazing defensively as well. It was a good team in 2018. They were good for the next couple of years as well, but that's where it all went downhill at that point. It's sad for Oakland. It is, because they've really had a good history in Oakland, but I think it is time for something new. I think it is. I think a lot of the fans, they'll still keep rooting for the Vegas A's. I wonder what they will call them. Will they call them the Las Vegas A's? Will they call them the Vegas A's? Will they even be called the A's? What are they going to be? Are they going to be the same colors? I think I don't know. I just feel like they do need something fresh. I feel like they need a different identity. It just seems like with Oakland in the last 20 years, they've been this team. They've had like these great regular season results, but then they get to the first round of the playoffs, right? And then you got the ALCS as well. In 2006? They did make it to the ALCS, but they lost to the Tigers that year. So they just they could never really go far in the playoffs, So it just feels like they need a new identity. They need a little freshening up. So yeah, I am excited to see what this team will look like in Vegas. And actually, going back to this article, they are hoping to be in Vegas by 2027. So, you got this year, 24, 25, 20. So you still got a few more seasons in Oakland. So, Oakland A's fans, enjoy it while you can. But in the end, I think it's going to be good for the game of baseball. I just think, it's sad for Oakland. You still got the Warriors there. You got a lot of A's fans. I wonder if they're going to become Giants fans now. They're going to go across the bay. They're going to go to San Fran. It's going to be interesting to see how this Oakland A's fan base reacts. Will they follow them to Vegas? Will they just become Giants fans? Will they become Dodger fans? Angels fans? Dodgers fans? Let me know. Athletics 510. I'm very curious. Let me know, what do you think? Will you follow them to Vegas? Or are you going to switch your caps? Like, let me know. I'd be very interested in hearing your thoughts. A's fans, leave a comment. When this stream is over, go to the stream itself after it's published. Leave a comment. Tell me what you think. What do you think about this? I'm very curious. Very curious. But everyone, that's all I got for tonight. I'm gonna start wrapping things up here. It's almost midnight. We gotta get to bed here. We gotta work in the morning. It is Friday tomorrow. Pretty excited about that. Everyone, if you can, If you can, please hit that like button for me on the way out. This really helps with the algorithm. It'd be greatly appreciated if you can hit that for me. Subscribe if you are new to the channel. We are trying to get to 30K by the All-Star break. Hit the bell notification. Share the stream as well for those people that did miss out on the live show. Don't forget about our sponsors here. We are sponsored with Sorare. Check the link in the description. It's completely free to play. Start your own fantasy team playing with cards that belong to you. Go have some fun. Go join a tournament. Go see what you can do. Try and win yourself some cards. And don't forget, we are partners here with BetOnline. Use the code BLEAV. Get a 50% welcome bonus. If you are into the sports betting game, check out SeatGeek. Use my code Hyde. You get 20 bucks off. And one more time, everyone. One more time. Hit the like button, everyone. Hit the like button. But I'm out of here, everyone. I am tired. I'm going to get out of here. Go have yourself a good rest of your night. Remember, I'm not here Fridays and Saturdays. Well, when we get to around the trade deadline, yeah, I'll be here Fridays and Saturdays. But for now, the show is Sunday through Thursday. I will be back on Sunday. We will be starting power rankings, not this Sunday, next Sunday. So we're a little over a week away from the return of power rankings, everyone. So stay tuned for that. Everyone, have yourself a great night. Have yourself a great Friday tomorrow, a great Saturday. I will see you all back here on Sunday. There is a possibility I could post a video or two sometime this weekend, so be on the lookout for that. Make sure you turn on the bell notification. Everyone, I'm out of here. Have yourself a great night, and I'll talk to you next time.